Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Tune in to my channel, the Sonny Chung Podcast, where I talk and interview leadership guests and talk about personal and professional development and their journey. I appreciate you coming in and listening to our show. Just want to share with you what we do. We are real estate and capital markets advisory based in Dallas, Texas. We help and support property ownership, developer, and sponsor to find programmatic relationship in their development project to our capital partners. If you're interested in our service, please send us an email or book a call with us from our website is stonewoodintl.com. It's Stonewood International. Look forward to speak with you guys, and please enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Sonny Chung Podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest in one of my episodes on entrepreneur about consultant. The gentleman name is Marty. Open multiple location and help entrepreneurs, especially in restaurant business, succeed in his career. And he also restaurant owners in the past. Most of his famous, well-known brand from Sweet Lady Jane's Bakery and other restaurant consulting that he helped over the years. So, Marty, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. If you can give a quick 30-second about you to the audience who listen to the Sonny Chung podcast, that would be amazing.
Sonny, thanks for having me. I have a career that spans over 40 years. I started when I was 12 years old, working in a little deli. So it's been a while. I've been executive vice president of a public company, dinner seafood house. I owned my own restaurants for many years, building up a chain. I also worked for another large company, La Brea Bakery, with multiple locations. Ran a bakery company, as well as currently I'm doing consulting for another baking company that specializes in bagels. So I've done a lot of things. I've also been a restaurant recruiter as well as a consultant. So I've helped a lot of people over the years find positions, and been a fun career. Involved with the University of Houston. I went to the hospitality school there and graduated with my bachelor's degrees. So enjoy what I do, and even more enjoying consulting, just helping people get to the next level. So that's a little bit about me. I have a lot more background. I've opened over 100 restaurants in my career with either myself, my companies, or with other people. So I've done quite a bit of restaurant work.
Well, Marty, thank you very much for sharing the experience you have. I mean, your resume speaks for itself. I rather have you share your experience than I do. I read about your bio. It very admire with a 40-year experience on it. But I want to ask you a few questions about how you get involved in the restaurant business and how do you start in the restaurant business. Can you share with me, tell me a little bit more about your career and your journey in your restaurant business that you started?
Yeah. When I graduated college, I went to work. I was only 20 years old and I couldn't get a position in a full service bar. So my first position actually that I got through a professor of mine was working in a department store, running a restaurant in a large department store. I did that for about a year and a half. And then at that point I turned 21 and I was able to get a position working in a growing dinner seafood house. That at the time it had 8 locations. Grew to 48 locations of that brand, as well as developed additional brands. So we had 48 dinner seafood houses in the Los Angeles, Houston, and Nevada states. Then we ended up opening 3 restaurants in Japan, which I was fortunate to able to do. So I traveled to Japan, opening restaurants there. Came back and opened another group of 8 restaurants under a different concept, but more quick service, seafood house. So that was the beginning of my career. At 26 years old, I was executive vice president of the company. We also ran places like the Los Angeles Music Center, and we did events such as the Academy Awards every year, as well as feeding the Queen of England when she came to Los Angeles, and a variety of other things. I left them. I was recruited with another position back into a department store company, running 33 restaurants in Northern California, in a chain there. Again, recruited back to Los Angeles, where my family was, where we got involved in opening new restaurants and developing a Italian restaurant concept that grew from 2 to 13 in a matter of 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Sold that to the Bankers Trust, a private equity company, and they took it from there. At that point, I retired at 36, and that lasted for a very short time. And I ended up opening 2 of my own restaurants for about 18 years. I ran those. When I retired from doing that, I actually got recruited from a gentleman that was my employee at one point, one of my assistant managers, who was running a large company called La Brea Bakery Arista,
Okay.
doing over $9 billion per year, and came in to help reorganize and to develop licensed locations and company-owned restaurants. We did locations all over the U.S., in department stores, in hospitals, in airports. We developed that and grew from there. Then again, I retired once again, and that was very short-lived. I ended up being offered a position to run a bakery called Sweet Lady Jane, which is a very well-known bakery luxury brand in Los Angeles, and I did that for about 3-4 years. Then I retired once again, and I started doing more consulting work, and I'm currently working with a group that's opened a high-end bagel sandwich shops that are doing incredibly well. And we just opened the 3rd location in the last 2.5 years, as well as a commissary, and working on the 4th location. So that's a brief history. That's 40 years plus
Your experience
in the business. So I've been doing this for a little while.
Well, thank you for sharing the history and how you come about being consultant in your work. From take back, because restaurant business is you make it sound easy, but it's not, right? It take a lot of operational side, a lot of things that you have to go into it. So what was in the project, and what did that teach you? You actually, and why did you decide to become a restaurant consultant? Then you see like the different part of the question I'm asking here, because it's hard to open a restaurant. So what do you see and you learn from that, and why you decide to help other entrepreneurs, especially in the hospitality space?
Well, it goes quite deep. So it's kind of starts with all the restaurants that I opened over the years. I've got a lot of experience on opening places. I've learned about construction. I've learned about kitchen equipment, kitchen installation, operations, both from cost standpoint, as well as finding a lease and finding locations. So I've done kind of all of that. I actually had a business that I was selling and designing kitchen equipment for people. And so that was a sideline that I did when I had my 2 restaurants for the 18 years that I had them. I guess I've always loved watching businesses grow and watching people grow and developing businesses that make sense and they enjoy doing. Being a consultant is an interesting part of my life because I love helping people, and I really love this business. Obviously, I've been doing it for a lot of years, and I've made my life living doing this as well, and made a lot of great friends. But I guess I enjoy doing the consulting because I like to see the final product. Unfortunately, a lot of the final products, after I leave, they don't always follow through and they fail. So there's a huge amount that have failed and a huge amount that have succeeded and grown into other larger um, companies. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum, those that listen and those that don't.
What is the success of a restaurant succeed in your years of seeing restaurant fail and restaurant actually be successful? What make restaurant become successful? What make the restaurant fail in your
Well,
uh,
I guess it starts with the operator and the management and them liking what they're doing and enjoying what they're doing every day and willing to put the time and effort to make it work. It's a tough business because it requires a lot of time, hours, and patience with employees that you're babysitting constantly. So if I tell people if they're not willing to put the time and effort in, don't bother doing it. The joke is, how do you make $2 million in a restaurant business? You start with 4 million.
okay, you need
It's a
extra
tough
capital.
business, and you've got to be willing to put the time and effort into it, and you've got to be able to enjoy people and like food and be able to deal with employees. It's not a business that runs by itself. It's time consuming, and it takes away from a lot of people's family lives. So you have to have a balance of life and work, and it's difficult for a lot of people to do that.
Yeah, so people talk, they know something of life and work balance in any business. And I can see on the restaurant preneur, they have no work life balance. They work at the restaurant, that's their home. So let's say that if someone passionate about food, they want to open a restaurant, what would your suggestion as a consultant for them the first thing to do, like identify space, or or how would you guide them in from your experience to set them a foundation for them to be successful?
I guess my first question to anybody would be, have you worked in this business and understand what it requires? That's kind of where it starts. As far as finding location, there's always locations out there, some good, bad, and different. I obviously, like, most real estate people will tell you location, location, location. And that truly is the case. So location is important. Having the concept that can make the business grow, not just something that you personally like. There's a lot of people that get in this business that come to me and say, oh, I know how to make the best whatever cheesecake. I know how to make the best sandwich. I know how to make the best seafood of sorts or whatever it may be. And that's fine. That's the best in their opinion, but is it the best in the public's opinion?
Mm,
And there's so many people that, oh, I'm a great cook. Well, that's great. But restaurant business is more than just cooking. Restaurant business is more than just the day-to-day, get in the kitchen and put out a dish. There's so many pieces to it. It's financial, it's putting the hours in, it's having to pay the bills. It takes a lot out of somebody that's not willing to put the time in, as I mentioned. So
I I have different people think restaurant business is the most riskiest business there is, and it can be very rewarding business if you build a good brand. Also, if you know how to cook, it's pretty much easy to go find a location and open and you try your luck, right? But that's not the case. I see I see restaurant, second generation restaurant space pop up left and right, and even though not say how can you guide them to ensure their initial investment that makes sense, even if they buy a franchise?
well, I think it starts with having the right concept and understanding what their goals are. Do you want to make 50% profit? No, that's not going to happen. Are there
Mhm.
restaurant businesses that make that? Not a lot. The average restaurant makes somewhere between 10 and 15% profit if they do okay. If they do well, they're making 25 or 30% profit. But again, it's all about understanding the business, keeping it simple and not getting too complicated. I think there's a lot of people that go in this business that either don't understand what they're getting into and make it more complicated than it actually is, and make it more difficult. And again, you got to put the time in and to understand what you want to do. So it's not just I can cook something and I can open a place and people are going to come. It's not build it, they will come. It's understanding what the consumer wants at the right price level, with the right hospitality and the employees, and having a place that's welcoming. You know, I when I go in a restaurant, the things that I look for, the first things, an existing place. I walk in the door, I can see if it's clean or dirty. If there's some hospitality there, there's people out there greeting me and saying hello and making me feel welcome, and it smells good. Those are probably the three things that my first impressions are.
Okay.
I'm probably the worst person because I walk around the dining room looking what everybody's eating. You know,
Let's
at
say
the end of the day, yeah, you have to understand what it's about. People get too complicated with restaurants, and I will tell you, I've learned this over the years, even in my own places. Somebody says, "Oh, I like this," and you put it on the menu. Before you know it, you have a menu with 50 items on it, and only 12 of them sell, or the bulk of it. So you got to be cautious on your menu, you understanding it, understanding food costs, understanding waste, understanding labor, which is huge. You know, the two main costs in a business today is really labor and food cost. Rent is really a minor part of it anymore. Used to be rent was a big piece of it. But
Right.
Because of the cost of labor today and all of the expenses that are associated with it, it's something that you've got to be able to watch and control. And understanding, you know, you can bring people in every half an hour. You don't have to bring them on a schedule that's on an hour. So there's a lot of ways to cut cost without cutting service and without affecting the guest.
I I really admire like how you brought that to attention. To any restaurant owner listen to this, is your menu, your food cost, your employee, or your operation more than your rent. Because rent used to be a big deal, but now it's not, because your operation is the most important thing at all. So I see restaurants, they have a lot of items on menus, like a Chinese buffet, right? Or something that's so much of food on the menu. Do you think it's more makes sense to narrow down a simplified menu, or have a variety of items on there? What's your experience to save your food costs, or be more precise on the menu nowadays, and the next generation going in? Instead, if you go to a Chinese buffet or Chinese restaurant, you see like pages out of the pages, like even I don't know what to order anymore. You know, when I look at it, it's okay. Well, there's so much food factor in that menu. So, what's your recommendation for restaurant owner about thing? Well, I want to sell everything, but also affecting your overhead costs. So, what's your suggestion on that?
Well, my suggestion is limit it what you have and just make what you have great. It's the old KISS theory: keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
People get too complicated in this business. Again, you know, you have a customer that says, "I like this," and the best thing you ever had, and you sell one of those. Does it make sense to have it on the menu when you're throwing it away every day? No, absolutely not. If you look at places like Cheesecake Factory, which has a huge menu, bazillion items, if you really look into their menu, they don't have that many items because they cross use most of the ingredients and other things, and their menu has decreased in the number of items over the years as well. I think you see more and more of that today. You mentioned going in a Chinese restaurant. Do you need that many items?
Right.
You need to look at your sales mix and say, you know, I only sell 1% of this. Why should I have it on the menu? Why do I need this ingredient? It's one more thing to throw away, one more thing to order, one more thing to have to deal with. So again, as simple as you can, you keep your menu narrowed down. The concept I'm working currently with is brilliant. They have 9 menu items. They bring a new item on every month to make it a little exciting. They push it out on Instagram and all the social media, and doing incredibly well, and they have incredibly low food costs, and because of their volume, they have incredibly low labor, and they don't even care what the rent is, reality, because the rent is such a small factor in the scheme of things.
Right. Yeah. I because with the menu and then the food costs and I like how you use the Cheesecake Factory analogies. Is they just change one or two ingredient to apply to their menu, so there don't have to be a lot of overhead or cost waste. Like same thing at like Wingstop, for example, right? They have the main ingredient is wings, and then they have different sauce on it, and that's it's, and you have like 10 or 20 items, but the same ingredient is wings, right? So I thought that very unique. When I talk about simplify your menu, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a very complicated business, but people
Hmm.
make it very complicated. They go out and try to be everything to everybody, and that's you can't do that if you want to succeed. You have to do what you do best and do it well and execute it every time the same.
That lead me to another question about the operational side. Restaurant employee and rotation is pretty quick, right? If you an operator, how can you maintain a good set of people following you that work with you? Because it's kind of like a summer job for me when you talk about restaurant. That it does affect restaurant owner. So how, based on your experience, how do you operate build a good loyal loyal team that actually help them and grow with them, and what incentive should they give to the employee to make sure they stay with you, or what's your suggestion in that regard?
End of the day, it's taking care of people and treating them like people. You see a lot of restaurant owners abuse their employees, both
Hmm.
not paying them enough, not listening to them enough, not hearing their needs and wishes, and people just burn out and leave. There is a high turnover in the restaurant business as far as employees go, and there's a lot of part-time employees.
Yep.
But those people, if you treat them well, you'll have a staff that stays along. I will tell you, over the years that I've had my own restaurants,
Hmm.
I was recently in a restaurant that I sold 35 years ago, crazy enough. And there's still some of the employees that are there. And I walk in the door and they still say hello and they know who I am, which is amazing. And I think because I've taken care of these people,
Hmm.
you're not just their employer, they're part of your family, and you need to treat them as such. Granted, not every person you're going to be able to do that to, but
Yep. Yep.
if you can hold on to these employees by taking care of them both financially and emotionally, and be not their necessarily their friend, you still need to be their boss. You have that loyalty, and that loyalty will go forever, as well as they become your trainers for the new employees. So I
Right.
always work with, train the trainer. So if you get a good employee, you train them to do their job well, and they become your trainers for future employees. Again, it's all about taking care of people and just being being their boss, not their friend. A lot of people want to be their friend and their boss. Doesn't work. Um,
Yeah. One or the other. You cannot be both.
you
Because
can't be both.
yeah, usually they value they afraid. Most of the operator I talk to in my business is they're afraid to lose their employee. So they be their friend, and of course they still kind of make sure to do the job right, and they pay higher, right? Or train them to become a kind of co-owners if they want to expand to another location, right? So they have all kind of build this kind of loyalty team, and help them to another step, to build the business and open more multiple unit. So I would love to study how the Panda Express more business model work and how they do it, because they did grow to from from a store in at a mall, and now they have multiple location, right? So it takes you to build a kind of concept.
It takes years, but it started with a person that understood. how people operate.
Mm.
I mean, they started here in Los Angeles, so I know them a little bit. I mean, I run into the owners over the years. They're great people, and they take care of their people. I look at the places that really succeed, and it's all about the owners and their responsibility to their employees and how they take care of them. We have several different chains here that I've been fortunate enough to work with. That one of them is a bakery concept that's tremendous business. They serve over 2 million people a year out of 6 locations. Why? Their food is great. Their customer service is great. Their hospitality is great. Their prices are reasonable, but more importantly, they take care of their employees. And it's a big piece of it. And they have now about 1,200 employees out of 6 restaurants, which is a little crazy.
That's amazing.
And it's growing. They're getting ready to open the next location, which they anticipate doing over 50 million.
Well, just 6 locations, 50 million.
No, one location, 50 million.
One location, 50 million. That's unheard of. I never heard anything of that before.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. 500 seat bakery.
500 seats. What?
And people are dying to get it to be open. But again, great operators, really wonderful people to work with. Everybody knows the owner. With 1,200 employees, I would say 1,100 of them, the owner walks in, they know his name, and he goes, shakes their hand.
I think you people come and see, and with your employee, from upper management to a part-timer, I think they would treat you with respect, right?
100%.
So what the name of that restaurant? I might come on California, visit, and then try it out.
I'll tell you off. I have an NDA with them, so I'll share it with you later.
Definitely will. Thank you very much, Marty, for sharing your wisdom and inside hospitality business and how owners, operators should look at their operational side, and rent is not sensitive like they used to anymore. If you can give our listener one lesson from the restaurant business that apply to life, what would that be?
What would that be? Work-life balance and enjoying what you're doing.
Work-life balance.
You know, the old saying is you don't work a day in your life is if you like what you're doing. And that is certainly true. Unfortunately, a lot of operators get totally burned out and don't like what they're doing, and they go in the first year, first month, first 6 years, whatever, and they love it, and they get totally burned out because they either may not be making as much money, they have difficulties in their life, and so forth and so on. But I mean, I've been very fortunate to enjoy what I do. I've made a lot of great relationships over the years. I've given back a little bit to people, and they've given a lot to me. I've mentored people, and I know the mentors that I've had in my career, and it's a combination of all of that makes this fun. And I really enjoy working with young people and helping them develop their career and consulting with them. Unfortunately, not everybody listens.
Yeah,
and that's the hardest part of my job, is that I go in and I know what they think they should be doing, and they do it for a short time, and they don't listen, and they're back to where they started with at the very beginning 6 months later or a year later.
Well, everybody have a different way of learning. You cannot force everybody to listen, right? It's they gotta listen at their own free will. That lead me to, so based on, you said that people don't listen. I mean, that majority of people, they choose to what they want to do, right? So are you optimistic about the future of hospitality? How do you think are the next generation going to view about the restaurant industry?
Fortunately, I think it's one of the industries that will continue forever because AI can't take it over completely.
Yeah, they have some tool. I have some great.
It's still, at the end of the day, it's still about people. It's still about feeding people and making them feel good, and people are going to get hungry. So I don't think any of that's going to change. Certainly, a lot of things have changed over the years, even the last couple of years with AI and social media and third-party delivery. All of that's changed our business quite a bit. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing: taking care of people and feeding their tummies. And if you can do that and do it in a way that people enjoy it, you're going to be successful. So I think there's a lot of growth in this business. Unfortunately, right now, I look at the business in the high-end market is just getting beat up tremendously because people can't afford it. But if you look at quick service and casual dining, those are segments that are growing. So,
I agree.
And the same thing happened way back in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, with the high end fine dining, it's more exclusive. I think it's more about the lifestyle, the exclusivity, to build that kind of community of a people network, and it's kind of club, right? A
Right. And
wine
people are
club.
more casual. I mean, if I go back to my beginnings of my career, there was not a night that I didn't wear a suit and tie.
I yeah.
I haven't had a suit and tie on. I can't even tell you since when. I've become more casual, and whether you're in Dallas or whether you're in Los Angeles or whether you're in New York, it doesn't make a difference. You go to the movie, you go to the theater where you used to have to dress up. Now people come in shorts and a t-shirt and don't have a suit and tie or even a tie on anymore. So the world's become much more casual, which is great. I love it. My first job, I dressed in a tuxedo at night and a suit during the day. So that's a lot of things have changed over the years for sure.
A gentleman dressed great back in the day. I still, if I can, I still wear suit, but like casual still resonate with me, right? Marty, thank you very much for being the guest on the Sonny Chung Podcast today, and share your wisdom and share your knowledge with our listener. So if listener want to remember our podcast, what's one thing in our conversation, what would you actually share with them in one sentence to summarize this podcast?
Restaurant business, food service is great. Embrace it and enjoy it.
Embrace it and enjoy it. Marty, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, and thank you.
My pleasure.
For being a guest.
All right. Thanks for having me. All right.
Thank you.